Welcome to Multifamily Revealed, a special podcast mini-series where we take you inside the journey of acquiring Emerald Point, a 76-unit multifamily property. I'm Anita Wong, real estate investor, syndicator, and your co-host.
And I'm Edison Miguel from Blue Ember Partners, and your co-pilot for this series. We're here to pull back the curtains on what it really takes to close a multifamily deal like this.
So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Emerald Point mini-series where we are breaking down the acquisition process of our 76 apartment deal in Irving, Texas. I'm here with my co-host, Edison Miguel of Blue Ember Partners, who is also my co-GP on this deal.
Hello, Anita, and it's good to be here. Today, we are super excited to have on our podcast one of our key members in the acquisition process, our property manager, Shelley Wilkins, who is a regional supervisor for Centra Partners commercial and multifamily assets.
Yes, and I'll say so. To me, I believe one of the most important parts of making sure your property succeeds is making sure that you have the right property manager with you, because they are the ones that are involved to the day-to-day process of the property. So you, in essence, are just working with someone like Shelley, who manages the office managers.
Right. A bit about Shelley before we jump into the conversation with her. Shelley J. Wilkins is a regional supervisor for Centra Partners, overseeing 10 plus commercial and multifamily assets with a strong track record of increasing occupancy, revenue, and operational efficiency. With a background in paralegal studies and extensive experience in leadership training and asset management, she has successfully driven performance such as boosting occupancy from 87% to 95% in 5 months and increasing property income by $100,000 while maintaining zero delinquency. Shelley's expertise spans contract law, property transitions, marketing, and operations, ensuring exceptional service that aligns with ownership goals and enhanced asset value. In this episode, we sit down with Shelley from Centra to dive into a crucial role of property management in multifamily investing, from initial property walkthrough and lease audits to identifying red flags, evaluating tenant quality, and seamlessly transitioning staff. Shelley shares her expert insights. We also discuss how investors can build strong relationships with property managers and what to look for in a great regional PM. Okay, let's get into it.
Hi, Shelley. We're so excited to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I will say, out of all of our guests, I think I'm just the most excited to hang out with you because I feel like you are always such a joy to hang out with, just throughout our entire process. You have always been really bright and caring, and it's always been really fun.
Oh, that's so sweet. Like it's hard not to get along with people when they, have the same perspective as you do, and, both personal and, relationship as far as business, y'all are all a joy to work with. So it makes my job pretty easy.
Yeah. So before we get into it, I want to just get to address our new investors here, because property management is not the same as it is with residential. So timeline wise, when is a property manager involved and what are you involved with?
Typically, as soon as you really put your eyes on a property that you're thinking about, making a move on, you need to establish, okay, if I do this deal, who's going to run it for me? And, at that point, you want to set up a due diligence and do, a thorough inspection of the property to ensure that the deal that you're getting ready to do is exactly what you see on the outside. As far as the management company, we go in, we look at the files, we look at the units. So we give you, a more in-depth perspective of what you see other than just the numbers that they're providing you.
Shelley, you're right. Like that due diligence period was really crazy. The amount that I saw you pull together with so many different other people cross-functionally, I cannot imagine doing that myself at all. Emerald Point was kind of the first property where I've really been able to kind of see the property management team do due diligence. And it was really eye-opening to see how quickly and efficiently a company like Centra is able to go through 76 units, collecting so much information. Can you kind of tell us about the property walkthrough process? And what do you do and how do you identify red flags?
From, the beginning, you want to have a really good team set up. We usually use people within that have done this process so they know, specifics to look for. We have spreadsheets. If you have it pre-plugged in with unit numbers, I mean, there's small things that you can do to, kind of streamline the process. The goal is to get in and out. You only have a few days to go in and do your inspection. So, getting a good team of, coworkers, employees, vendors, know where the property is at within, those couple of days that you have, I think is the most important thing.
And then aside from
Um,
property walkthroughs, oh, go ahead, India.
Yeah, no, I wanted to actually just quickly because we weren't on the property when you were doing the whole due diligence. So like for a unit like ours, how many people did you send?
On that property, we had three sets of two.
Okay.
So that way you have, one kind of doing the writing and the other one kind of calling out the items. When they're in the unit, you're looking at appliances, plumbing, carpet, the overall aesthetic of the unit. And then we do them on a number basis. So, when we're done, we can kind of account for, okay, these are fair, these are poor, these are good. So it helps the prospective buyer, make a good assessment of, okay, we have 50, poor stoves, we need to allocate that those are going to go out. We may need to replace those. So, yeah, we had the three teams and it took us the one day. And then we usually have two on that size, two people on the inside doing the file audits, basically looking for, the background information. Has credit been screened? Did they get employment verifications? Did they rent? Like just seeing overall the way the management was prior. That way, okay, these apples add to these apples what they provided on paper again, with the rent amounts, deposits, because that's what you're taking on the overall property, not just the pictures they provide. So,
And then Shelley, you kind of mentioned lease audits. Tenants are actually a big part of the property. Can you tell us about lease audits and what you saw in Emerald Point, and what do you look for in tenant quality?
yeah, with Emerald Point, it's a little community in itself. You notice that people that have lived there for a few years. They like where they live. It's their community. They were present, when we were there doing the due diligence and welcoming. Um, they were qualified, with the qualifications that they had prior. So the overall due diligence was good with that property. The rental numbers provided, for each unit, they matched what was on the lease. So the discrepancy aspect, wasn't there, which made it easier for, ownership overall to make their decision.
Great, thank you for that. So I just want to touch base on so for us, I think it was really unique because we liked our office manager from the very beginning, and I know that you guys are really, and I know that that is not always the case. So I want to talk about, what ran through your guys' mind. What was the procedure when we were saying, "Hey, we like her"? How did you guys vet her, or like how did you guys work with the process to make sure that it's from the time we pitched that idea that she would actually be a seamless fit into that transition?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just meeting with her, um, getting a feel for her headspace. Because anytime there's a sell, maybe they've worked there for a while and they're ready for a break. Maybe they have an opportunity within that company to grow. With her, it was different. She had went through three sales. She knew the background of the property. And to me, that was real important. It is an older property, so with having somebody that knows, oh no, this unit, constantly has a backup, or this unit, like I know we're going to need to replace this. It was just nice kind of having that background. I've been to properties where you don't have that. The manager there's been there 3 months, and during the due diligence, like they can't help you with anything. And I feel like she was present, she was honest, it worked with her schedule. And I feel like overall she was the best, candidate for Emerald Point, was to keep her there. And that's what she wanted. And I feel like, we were able to make that commitment to her. And overall, I think the property is doing really well because of that.
Yeah, I feel like I learned a lot about the staffing process at the time. There's a lot of unsaid rules about um obviously, like, I think sometimes when sellers do sell, they take their managers with them.
Mhm.
That's certainly one part of it. Another is that you kind of sometimes you get package deal, right? You have to take the maintenance staff with the management staff together, and that was kind of a little bit mind blowing for me too. Can you talk on that a little bit, Shelley?
Yeah, I mean, overall, a manager and a maintenance guy, it's like a marriage. And I mean, I hate to put it that way, but you spend a lot of time, there's financial aspects, there's trust aspects. You have to be able to count on that person if you need them to go check something that they're going to come back and report to you accurately what you needed, and if you have that on an on-site team, you don't want to break that up. And as being a manager, if you find that with a maintenance technician, then you don't want to lose it because, it's hard to find somebody. Some people are out there just for the money, and you think you have somebody good, and then somebody will come along and offer them just a little bit more. But you know, if you have that commitment, they know overall they're going to have your back, and you're going to have their back and overall perform for the property. Then, that's the teams that you definitely want to keep. And I feel like Emerald Point team, they've worked together, they know each other, they respect each other. So, me as a supervisor, that wasn't, there was no ifs, ands, or buts with them. They communicated throughout the whole process that they wanted to stay there. They were excited. They've been wanting to do things for the community as well. So them being a part of it after getting to that point is exciting too.
Yeah, I think we were definitely in a bit of a luck of the draw because I feel like we were really in sync with them from the very beginning because they were so community minded. They were, they obviously, money is also, money and those things are important, but I think that they truly were people we felt like cared about the tenants. And
Yeah,
so I think when we did things like the holiday party or kind of made some commitments back, they just were really excited. So I think that was a morale boost right out the door.
absolutely. And they have that relationship with them, but they haven't been able to give it back, and so seeing them at the first, event and decorating and getting it all together and the turnout and being able to give back, that was exciting in itself too, because it's a full circle, and if you don't have it from point A to point B, then it's hard to be successful, so making them feel important and letting them know that, hey, we hear you out, we're going to try to make things a little easier for you so that way you can do your job, to the fullest extent. And I think they are very appreciative of that.
Yeah, and I totally see it from their point too. Like they want to look good to their tenants. They don't want to keep,
Yeah.
representing the big bad owners, right? Or keep apologizing, So they also want to be like, okay, now we're in a good place. So,
Yeah.
now we're new management and it's on the up and up, right? Yeah.
And I tell them too, when we discuss something, if, there's something they needed, my assistance to make happen, I'm like, don't put it on me. That's on you. Let them know that, you are the winner. You're the one that made it happen for them.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely really appreciate that about you, Shelley, because you always credit them so much and just kind of give all the hard-earned work to them. Just be like, this good work, this good job belongs to you. And I think I really appreciate that about you, Shelley.
Hey, we wouldn't be anywhere we are today without any of those teams, So, and then I tell the teams you wouldn't be where you're at without the residents. So, it's that circle thing again.
Mm-hmm. I think Tony typically says about property managers are if not like the biggest factors in the success of your property. And I totally like you guys are the office managers there, but you are there day to day. It kind of bewilders me that some people self-manage because I think it's like you really have to be really hands-on, because it's a lot of work to be in the property management seat.
Well, and it's hard to separate. I mean, you guys have seen it's hard to not have a heart when you see somebody going through an issue. I mean, it's again, I have to remind them every day. It's a business, and ultimately that's what we're here for. So that does help. A new owner having a management company, to where you don't have to have that instant connection from day one of, oh my gosh, these people are my heart. Like I've got to give more when you're giving everything you already can.
Mm-hmm. And so I think if when you're kind of starting with the new office manager and you kind of see their routines and operations, do you kind of go in there and then you be like, we recommend that you do meetings with your maintenance staff, like, like, do you kind of give them suggestions or their own agency to kind of do things on their own, or how do you improve things on their end?
Me personally, I kind of sit back and just see what's going on, because you go to one property and you think one thing may be your focus item, but you really should be focusing on something else. So, I kind of sit back and see, where am I most needed? Where should I put my focus on? Maybe they're really good at delinquency, but they're not good at turning units, and I'm
Mhm.
focused on collections, but the units aren't getting turned. So then you don't have move-ins. So then, it's just really each person, finding what they need assistance with, and as well as, where they see themselves. A lot of it's on themselves too. If they see themselves as moving up from assistant to manager, well, you have to perfect that role that you're in. Because when you're a manager, you have to assist that, the assistant role. So, a lot of it's putting it back on them too. I'm there to assist, my employees, the people I oversee. But again, it takes them wanting to get to that next level too, so.
Mhm. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the relationships with us, the owners, right? So obviously for us, we were maybe a little bit different because you've already been working with Tony and Link Multifamily on a number of the different properties. So it was a pretty natural transition, I think, to Emerald Point because of how the vicinity of Vanderbilt and to Emerald Point. So, if you don't have something like this, how do people establish relationships with you, and so that they're in sync just like we are?
I think expectations is number one. Even with my staff, like if they're not doing something correctly, I need to set the expectations and let them know maybe it's a disconnect. It's the same way with owners. I have a system that I do things, but it may not work with each owner. Maybe they want to see it as a cash basis instead of an accrual basis. Each one has their own way. But I think being open with communication, and really seeing the vision that they have and understanding what it takes, for everybody and from everybody to get there, really will help, you succeed. I think if you go in straight line, like this is how I work, they need to adjust to me, like uh, that doesn't work in the real world, and
Mhm.
building connections, whether it's friends, family, coworkers, bosses. You have to be honest, and you have to go in and know the clear expectation of what everybody wants to achieve to be able to achieve it. So I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think we also talked about, I think earlier on, maybe about like just recognizing that the humanness, of property managers, and
Mhm.
like understanding that they have lives outside of working these properties for you, and how these things go. Sometimes you'll have a leak at 2 a.m. or you have a literal fire, like at the worst times, right? During the holidays, we had a leak during like New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So yeah, and trying to recognize people that they're trying to do their best, but they also have boundaries, right?
Yeah. It's a hard balance, but again, it's a respect thing too. Everybody has their day, and it's about, just being open, today's not my day, let's reconvene tomorrow. Instead of trying to push through knowing that you're not going to give your best, to the teams even. Especially some of our properties like Emerald Point is solo in, solo out. So that's a lot on one person, and if they're required to be there on Saturdays, some properties are, then they need to have time off during the week. We can't push them 6 days a week, and expect to get overall great performance. So it's a good balance, but you have to again have that open communication with your employees to know what best benefits them. How are you going to get the most out of them? If you again say no, it's Saturday through Friday, like you're not going to get the best performance. They have no time. It's 24/7 work, and when you do give them that balance, when something happens in the middle of the night, they're more willing to jump on it and take care of it because they're appreciated. They've had that time. They have that balance. So, I think that's very important.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, leads for our last segment. Pew, pew, pew. We have, it's not rapid fire questions, it's a new game that I designed specially for Shelley because it's a random late night decision, but this is gonna be fun, okay? This game is called Red Flag, Beige Flag, Green Flag, where I'm just gonna spit out scenarios to Shelley and she's gonna give me, whatever she assesses. So red flag, major issue, deal breaker. Beige flag, it's not ideal but manageable with the right plan. Green flag means a good sign, means smooth operations, potential upside. Okay.
Hold on, let me get my cheat sheet.
Okay. All right. So you're conducting a lease audit. You find that 20% of tenants are on month-to-month leases, red, beige, or green.
That would probably be a beige, what's going on with the property? Why is 20% on notice to move out? Is it an operational issue? Is it a component with the property, maybe an issue they haven't resolved? So I wouldn't take it full force, but I wouldn't let it go by lightly. I would definitely, look into it and see why are we having so many month-to-month or move-outs?
Okay. While walking through the units, you notice a strong musty smell in one of the areas of the building.
I would say that's definitely a red flag. Normally, musky smell means leak. Water travels with gravity, it goes down. So if it's a third floor, it's going down. You got 3 units, you're going to have damage. So I would definitely say that's a red flag. You need to look into that.
Yeah, anything involving water, pretty much.
Yeah.
The fitness center has outdated equipment, but everything is clean and in working order.
I think that would be maybe a green. Depending on the proposed budget that you're wanting to put in the asset, you could always put money into that. Not necessarily that the structure of the fitness center is bad, but just some equipment. So I would say that's a green one. It's not necessarily going to keep you from, operating the property.
The property water bill is 40% higher than the market average for similar sized buildings.
I would definitely say that's a red flag because water bills, that is a lot of money. You can, bill parts of that back to the resident, but again, you have a water leak, it's going somewhere. So I would definitely say that's a red flag and kind of look into that. How long has it been going on? Is it repetitive? Is it just during this time of year? Do they have the pools refilled? Definitely at least look into it and find out why.
Mm-hmm. Your reviewing rent roll in one unit is leased at much higher rent than all the others, almost 30% more.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's a yellow flag. It's just I would look into it, and find out if it's one unit out of the whole portfolio. Maybe it's an error, computer error. Maybe it was an error on the lease. I would first make sure that they match up the rent roll versus what's on the lease file, and then go from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna just spit our bonus questions because we still have a little bit of time. Bonus. The property is fully occupied, but there is little tenant activity. No maintenance requests, low tenant interactions, no people whenever you visit.
That's a green flag. I mean, that means they're out, they're present, people are happy, they feel comfortable. I would definitely not look at that as any kind of a problem.
Okay. I think I would maybe even counter that a little bit because I feel like no maintenance requests, but maybe potentially that the manager's not putting them in, or
maybe so,
or fake tenants. We don't know. Sometimes it could happen.
Or it's a new property, or they just take care of. I mean, we do quarterly inspections, so if you take care of those minimum things, each quarter, then it does minimize your maintenance request for sure.
Yeah. I remember Tony teaching us in Infinity that to drive through the parking lot at like on a Wednesday at 2:00 or something, and then he's like, if the parking lot is empty, it's good because that means the tenants are working. Yeah.
Yeah. if you go do a due diligence and everybody's at home, it's like, okay, who works?
Yeah.
Everybody's just in their living room, watching movies, eating lunch. Like, yeah, you kind of want to be worried.
Yeah, I've definitely walked away from a few properties. I just see guys in the middle of the day just sleeping on the lawn. So like, nope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely see a lot, and I'm glad that you guys got to come, Edison, even getting to see some of the units on the inside. It just kind of gives you more of an exact impression of what you are working with, and versus people that never come and do that. They're just taking everything that you pass on to them. So it was nice having all of you guys apart.
Yeah. Okay, last one. The owner has started unit renovations, but only a few units have been updated, and there's no clear timeline for the rest.
Green flag. I mean, depending on, where you're wanting to take the property, maybe they put a halt on it because the market, demand wasn't there. And, I would just reevaluate it and see why was the halt put on it? Was it due to construction? Was it due to not getting the materials? Was it the demand? There's a reason for it. And you just have to kind of investigate a little bit, but not necessarily a deal breaker.
Got it. Okay.
Cool. And Shelley, like just kind of echoing before, we really enjoy working with Centra, and especially with you. You've definitely really managed and create a really, really good team. Like Anita's not joking. We really do enjoy working with you, Shelley. And it's really kind of the values you've kind of mentioned about that marriage between you guys and your office manager and maintenance team, and being respectful and just kind of having that open communication, because everyone's just people here and
Correct.
they can't just live on the property. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed you having on our podcast. If our listeners want to get in touch, how can they reach you?
They can reach me via email. It's going to be swilkins@centrapartners.com or on my LinkedIn page.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shelley.
Yes, guys, I enjoyed it, and we'll see each other soon.
Yes.
Bye.